Hi, it's Jarrett Casey. Today is Sunday, August 30th, 2020. And I want to introduce you to my new dress. It's a desk, sorry. My neighbor, just right here, um, her and her roommate were moving. And so they gave me this and a new dresser, and they're so cute. It's hand carved wood. And I love them, love them, love them already. Although the energy in the house, I'm kind of like feeling kind of woozy today. I'm like, oh, you guys have a lot going on, but it's okay. I just think it's great. I'm so excited. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, anyways, yeah, very happy. So today has been a crazy day. So I woke up. I ran out of almond milk, so that started everything. um, I walked to Winco and got groceries. I came back. I noticed they were moving, so I offered to help. I made introductions with one, and I think her name was Debbie, and she's moving to Park City to be a snowboard instructor. But and her roommate works for Wells Fargo, and she's moving to Arizona. And so she's just like, I'm just getting rid of stuff, and so yeah. Anyways, so here I am, and I ended up moving that and helping with the neighbors across the way. And then I came home. I wanted to like clean the drawers and move furniture around and get them all into place. And so that's what I did. And then I just got in these conversations in my head. I ended up realizing I forgot to buy bread and get this almond milk and potatoes. I bought other stuff, but I didn't buy what I went there for. So I went back to the store and came back, and I just haven't really done anything all day. So I did my 40-day transformation class, like just barely. I did do, oh yeah, Sundays with Spirit too. So Jennifer Hadley was out this week. And so we missed her very much, but it was so nice. We had a few other people speak, and we spoke, and I want to speak about this because I've been meaning to share this. So they asked, how has someone else shown up as the presence of God in your life? We have someone speak. We do an opening prayer, music. We have someone speak. We do some more music, and then we break into breakout rooms where we have little discussions, and then we come back, have one more song, and then we close out with a prayer. So this was the question in our breakout group, and so it reminded me of something that's been coming to my mind a lot. So when I was young, I lived in Ogden, and my family went to Roy Bible Church in Roy, and so it's a non-denominational Christian church, and it was great. I was baptized there, although so we switched from Roy to Kaysville Bible Church when they built one in Kaysville off of Flint. And when I look back in time, I'm like, was I baptized at Roy or Kaysville? I can never remember. But I just found my baptism Bible, and it says Roy, and I'm like, oh, okay, I was baptized in Roy. So anyways, when we were there, we met some families, obviously, because we're at church, and one of them was this kid Justin. So he was my same age. I was in Awana, and I was a Sparky, and I loved being a Sparky. I held the record for the most Bible verses memorized in 1 week, which was 23. And well, that was like just in our church, but and I don't remember any of them anymore, but it was a long time ago. We Oh, Justin. So we met this kid Justin. They lived in Ogden. We lived in Ogden. So my mom's name is Mary, and his mom's name is Mary. And my dad came a couple times and then stopped, and his dad never came. And we both live in Ogden, so we kind of like just kind of hit it off. And Mary was a server at the Red Iguana on North Temple, and she'd been there for over a decade. And she would drive from Ogden to the Red Iguana every day. And she supported Justin and her husband, who wasn't working, and they kept a beautiful garden. It was perfect. He was a horticulturist, so he had his master's in horticulture, and he listened to world music. I remember Justin saying he likes world music. I was like, "What's world music?" He's like, "It's like folk music, but it's from around the world." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And she would always make everything from scratch. And Justin was homeschooled, and so we just became best friends. And I would go over. We'd go to church together. Especially after we moved to Kaysville Bible Church. Eventually, my mom stopped going too, so I would just go with them every week. And they're just a beautiful, amazing family. And at that point in my life, besides my mom, although my mom I saw more as like spiritual, but Christian, whatever. Um, Same thing. Um, Justin and Mary, were the two most Christ-like people in my life. They just were so inspiring to be around. They're just such beautiful, amazing people. And we would go back. Their backyard neighbor was this guy, Mr. West. He was old, 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 old. His backyard was all overgrown, and he had all this army stuff. And we would go back there and play army, or we'd venture over to Washington Boulevard to an abandoned building, and the river or the irrigation ditch or river or something flowed right by there, and we'd investigate things. We'd come up with mysteries, and then we'd try and solve them. And we had something called J&J Detective Agency. And yeah, it was cool. We were really good friends. But anyways, I have these two memories, and for a long time, well, I look back on them and I'm like, were they dreams, or did that really happen? I'm like, no, it really happened. I'm like, no, it was a dream. And I'm like, oh, I think one really happened and one was a dream. But they had very similar feelings, this kind of similar memory feeling to them. And anyways, the first one I remember is him sitting me down. We sat down together, and he looked at me and he goes, "You know you're Jesus, right?" And I go, and I'm like searching my brain, like, "Am I Jesus? Oh my gosh, what is he talking about?" And then I remembered that he was Jesus, and I go, "Oh wait, no, I'm not. You're Jesus." And he goes, "You're right. Thank you for remembering that." And he goes, "But if I'm Jesus and I say you're Jesus, now you're Jesus too." And he goes, "See how that works? Because I see you the same as I see myself. That's how, you know. So now you're Jesus. I'm still Jesus. Now you're Jesus." And I'm like, "Okay, I think I get it." I mean, if you're Jesus, you're the Son of God. So whatever you decide goes. So I guess I'm Jesus too. That's what was going on in my head, but I didn't say that. But I'm just like, okay. So fast forward, and I have this other memory of him sitting me down very similarly. And he goes, So not like that. That's me. That's me stepping into my own self-judgment. Sorry. He was basically like, "So you're gay, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." And he's like, "Okay, that's okay." He goes, "Well, I'm straight, but I want you to know that I still see you the same as me. Um, Now I don't see you any differently than I see myself." And that was really powerful for him to tell me that. It was similar to when, not quite similar, because with him, I was kind of like, I don't know, but like maybe, you know. My mom pulled me aside when I was 10 and she asked me, "So, do you think you're going to grow up to marry a man or a woman?" And I immediately went, "A woman." Because I'd never talked to anyone about this. And she goes, "Okay, well, that's great. Don't get upset. I didn't want to upset you. I just want you to know that either way, uh, we love you." And anyways, so that's a story. I didn't share the one about my mom doing that. I just kind of started talking. But I thought, what a cool way for two people to show up as the presence of God in my life, um, in one memory, in one sitting. It was Justin, but it was Jesus. Because I know the symbology of dreams. Um, and so I thought about it. I'm like, well, it was definitely Justin in my dream, and it was Justin in real life. And the two parallel each other. Um, so it was definitely Justin. But I know that sometimes when we're dreaming, the people in our dreams can sometimes symbolize our spirit guides, or someone that's trying to speak to us through our dreams. And I know in that dream, that first dream, that it was Justin, and it was also Jesus. And he was coming in and speaking to me through someone I knew, someone who was, as I saw at that point in my life, the most Christ-like person in my life. Um, and so it's like they both showed up together to be the presence of God in my life, um, and to send me a very important message about how Jesus Christ, how the Christ, anyone who's Christ minded or right minded or miracle minded, sees their brothers and sisters. Um, and that's as they see themselves. And it's by seeing that way that we finally see ourselves and who we are and what we're here to do in this crazy dream, this so called life that seems so real. And I guess that's because we're all here. And I mean, each and every single one of us, we're spiritual beings. We're as real can be. And we're what makes this place real. And I feel like that's really cool because we can do that. We can turn this illusory world, this kind of false world, because it's built on false precepts or false beliefs of fear, anger, resentment, blame, shame, punishment. Um, and God is pure love. He's pure, whole, holy, and complete love. And there are no exceptions. He loves every single one of his children equally. So we're here to make this world real. And that doesn't mean all these things that we perceive that are so scary, or that we that 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 make us feel scared, or that we are that are that are a result of those fears become real, or come true. They and we've talked about this. I think they come true, and so as we approach truth, uh, as our dreams come true, they always come true. They come to truth. They come real. Um, they come to Jesus. Someone said, sorry, and they they become pure light, joy, abundance, happiness, love, and we have the gift of forgiveness, and we have time, which is another gift if we know how to use it. Um, to make all of these dreams come true, but we just keep the good stuff. None of this seemingly scary stuff, the bad stuff, right? So it's hard because the people talk about how there is no good or bad, right? And then you think, oh, great, we're fucked. All this terrible stuff, there's no good or bad, it's all good, right? And it's like, no, no, no. Think of anything that's of pure love, light, and joy. If you want to label that as good, I agree with you, right? Because that stuff's real. That's good. Let's do that. And stuff that's of fear and blame and shame and guilt, that's not so good. That's bad. But there is no good and bad. There's just good. And I think sometimes people present that teaching, either they don't understand it, or they're just trying to scare people away from the truth. Um, but there is no good or bad. There's just good. There's just truth. There's just love. There's only love. The rest of it's not real. And I know it seems to be. And that's because people keep wanting it to be real, right? We create our reality. I mean, God is with us always, and we can never leave him. And he's given us the choice to choose, right? So uh I sorry, that was a meme reference. I'm not very good at those. Anyway, so yeah, and I'm so blessed. I want to reach out to him. When I was in college, so he moved to Arkansas, which is where I was born. He moved to Fort Smith, I think. And years later, his brother Ryan lived in California and he lived in Arkansas. He bought a truck in California. So Justin drove out to go pick up the truck. And he stopped to see me in Arizona. It was so good to see him. It was a little awkward. It wasn't awkward, but a little bit, because I feel like, because I was like very much in my college days, which were amazing, beautiful, so many amazing people. I think I was a really great person. I look back and I'm really embarrassed. I feel like maybe I was a little shallow. Vapid. And I wasn't shallow. I just cared a lot about. I was just young, I think, immature. People might even still argue that, but I was trying to impress him, and I'm embarrassed about that. And then he went back home, and I haven't talked to him in years. I feel like I should reach out to him. So, anyways, so the second question was, how have you shown up as the presence of God in someone else's life? And it wasn't until I was journaling this that I realized, not only was it Justin and Jesus Christ showing up as the presence of God in my life, twice, really. It was me, right? Sort of. I'm like, yes. But that's, well, wait. Oh, but that's not me showing up in someone else's life. So I'm like, okay, I think I can give this message to some other people. I think I can show up and try and be the presence of God in someone else's life. I don't really know how to do that. I think this is a start. I've got one viewer. Yes. um, and I think I say these things in my mind all the time. I send this message out to anybody who will listen. Um, although I get angry, I get upset. I'm like way still working on this whole like more consistently holding on to. I've chosen the peace of God, absolutely. Good job. But and I have sometimes trouble holding on to that choice right here every moment, just every waking moment, 24/7. And I know that that's not bad. I think it's very common. It happens. People would say, "Oh, that's natural." Well, it's not natural. This is natural, right? All the time. That's who we are. It's who we are. It's who we were created to be. 100% of the time. Peaceful, joyous, abundant, pure, gentle, loving, patient love. Although we may have a sense of urgency sometimes, but we are patient. Um, and someone says, and we take care of our patients. Um, so I I'm gonna read this. So, anyways, there's that. That happened today. And that's been on my mind. So I'm glad I wrote it down. I'm glad I shared it a few times. And today we are reading chapter 2, section 6, fear and conflict. So in our 40-day transformation class today, we talked about, which I just did, and now I'm going to go to bed, but we talked about really seeing our hostility in the world as we go about our days, which today in my mind, I got very upset a couple times. I guess I was being hostile, and I don't know if I was responding to hostility. Because it's hard. Because today she also said to make sure each person you see to recognize that they are a part of you, that you are one with them, that they are also you. And so and recognize, acknowledge, see, notice is the correct word. Notice your hostility as you go about your day and find it very disturbing, right? Because that's not natural. Hostility is not natural. That's not who we are. It's not who we're created to be. It's not what we've been called here to engage in or to choose. And so to notice that hostility and to be very disturbed by it. And that's all she was guiding us to do. So here we're reading fear and conflict. So these may go hand in hand, and we'll see. Oh, it's a long section. Oh, okay. So being afraid seems to be involuntary, something beyond your own control. Yet I have said already that only constructive acts should be involuntary. Yeah. My control can take over everything that does not matter, while my guidance can direct everything that does, if you so choose. Fear cannot be controlled by me, but it can be self controlled. Fear prevents me from giving you my control. The presence of fear shows that you have raised body thoughts to the level of the mind. This removes them from my control and makes you feel personally responsible for them. This is an obvious confusion of levels. I do not foster level confusion, but you must choose to correct it. You would not excuse insane behavior on your part by saying you could not help it. You would not excuse insane behavior on your part by saying you could not help it. Why should you condone insane thinking? There is a confusion here that you would do well to look at clearly. You may believe that you are responsible for what you do, but not for what you think. The truth is that you are responsible for what you think because it is only at this level that you can exercise choice. What you do comes from what you think. You cannot separate yourself from the truth by giving autonomy to behavior. This is controlled by me automatically as soon as you place what you think under my guidance. Whenever you are afraid, it is a sure sign that you have allowed your mind to miscreate and have not allowed me to guide it. It is pointless to believe that controlling the outcome of misthought can result in healing. When you are fearful, you have chosen wrongly. That is why you feel responsible for it. You must change your mind, not your behavior. And this is a matter of willingness. Now, when you change your mind, will your behavior change? Yeah. Now, when you make the decision to change your mind, and you really do change your mind, and the Holy Spirit knows when that decision is made, your behavior will change. Now, for some people, that's, I think, almost immediately. It's like, boom, something clicks, flip, boom, they're done, and everything changes. Now, other people, they make that choice, and it happens at a very deep level for them, and and their behavior does change, although it may not seem to right away. Maybe little hints here and there, or they just keep doing the same thing, but they're just starting to see things different, right? And then maybe something will happen, they'll go back, they'll kind of go back and forth. It's this very slow waking process. And that's okay too. They're both perfect. Okay? They're both perfect. And neither one should be judged or punished or feared. Okay? Neither of them are doing it right or wrong. They both chose correctly. Okay? So, this is really important for people to understand that as we awaken and as we choose, as we learn, as we open our hearts, right? We close our eyes and open our hearts, right? That we might see. And then, of course, we can just open our eyes right back up again. You don't have to keep them closed, right? But now your heart is open. And sometimes you have to do that with your eyes closed. Because this can be really scary. And or it can seem really scary, I should say. And then you open your eyes and your heart is open and everything changes. Everything changes. And we can help each other do that. So yeah, um, your behavior will change, but you don't have to try and change your behavior before you change your mind. And we should always allow people um, change their behavior as they change their mind. It's, uh, it's the natural order of things. Not just things. Um, it's just how it works. It's how we flow, right? We change our mind, and then we change our behavior. And some of our behavior is some of it is just, it's neither good nor bad, right? It's neither good nor bad. It just is kind of how we live our day-to-day life, maybe our routine, some people say, or our lack of routine, right? And it's neither good or bad. So that may not change or seem to change at first. Other things, little things will change. We choose slightly different words. We're a little more gentle closing the door. Uh, we just wave at someone naturally. Oh, I haven't done that in years. Um, we drive around. We take the scenic route, right? We drive slower. We talk with our hands. We get up just a little bit earlier so we can sit and drink coffee and think about how we've changed our mind about the world for 15 or 20 minutes or an hour every morning. And some of our other behaviors start to change, and this may happen quickly or slowly, and it's perfect. And the process never really ends, and that's okay too, because well, I shouldn't say, what I mean is that it stays with us our whole life. We're always growing and changing through it. Um, so it's the beginning, it's the starting point, it's the choice, the choosing, having chosen correctly, that is to be celebrated. Um, and of course, celebration comes can come very frequently and naturally after that, especially as we learn from one another, we teach one another, we celebrate each other's successes, we carry each other through what might seem like failure, and we love one another. Of course. Why wouldn't we? That's what we do. It's who we are. It is pointless to believe that controlling the outcome of misthought can result in healing. When you are fearful, you have chosen wrongly. That is why you are responsible for it. You must change your mind, not your behavior. And this is a matter of willingness. You do not need guidance except at the mind level. Correction belongs only at the level where change is possible. Change does not mean anything at the symptom level where it cannot work. The correction of fear is your responsibility. When you ask for release from fear, you are implying that it is not. You should ask instead for help in the conditions that have brought the fear about. These conditions always entail a willingness to be separate. At that level, you can help it. You are much too tolerant of mind wandering and are passively condoning your mind's miscreations. The particular result does not matter, but the fundamental error does. The correction is always the same. Before you choose to do anything, ask me if your choice is in accord with mine. If you are sure that it is, there will be no fear. Fear is always a sign of strain, arising whenever what you want conflicts with what you do. This situation arises in two ways. First, you can choose to do conflicting things, either simultaneously or successively. This produces conflicted behavior, which is intolerable to you because the part of the mind that wants to do something else is outraged. Second, you could behave as you think you should, but without entirely wanting to do so. This produces consistent behavior, but entails great strain. In both cases, the mind and the behavior are out of accord, resulting in a situation in which you are doing what you do not wholly want to do. This arouses a sense of coercion that usually produces rage, and projection is likely to follow. Whenever there is fear, it is because you have not made up your mind. Your mind is therefore split, and your behavior inevitably becomes erratic. Correcting at the behavioral level can shift the error from the first to the second type, but will not obliterate the fear. It is possible to reach a state in which you bring your mind under my guidance without conscious effort, but this implies a willingness that you have not developed as yet. The Holy Spirit cannot ask for more than you are willing to do. The strength to do comes from your undivided decision. There is no strain in doing God's will as soon as you recognize that it is also your own. The lesson here is quite simple, but particularly apt to be overlooked. I will therefore repeat it, urging you to listen. Only your mind can produce fear. It does so whenever it is conflicted in what it wants, producing inevitable strain because wanting and doing are discordant. This can be corrected only by accepting a unified goal. The first corrective step in undoing the error is to know first that the conflict is an expression of fear. Say to yourself that you must somehow have chosen not to love, or the fear could not have arisen. Then the whole process of correction becomes nothing more than a series of pragmatic steps in the larger process of accepting the atonement as the remedy. Pragmatic steps in the larger process of accepting the atonement as the remedy. These steps may be summarized in this way. Know first that this is fear. Fear arises from lack of love. The only remedy for lack of love is perfect love, Christ's love. Perfect love is the atonement. Hmm. Perfect love is the atonement. Okay, well, I'm a part of that. Oh. I have emphasized that the miracle, or the expression of atonement, is always a sign of respect from the worthy to the worthy. The recognition of this worth is reestablished by the atonement. It is obvious then that when you are afraid, you have placed yourself in a position where you need atonement. You have done something loveless, having chosen without love. Not that you've ever been without love, you just chose it without love. You weren't here, you were here. Okay, so that's not me, but that's okay. So you weren't here, you were, oh no, you weren't there either. Where were you? You're probably over here. Oh my heck. Uh, that was embarrassing. Okay, so, huh? Yeah, we're talking to a lot of men out there. All right. So, so choose with love, and always choose with love. And choose. So guys, just choose. Choose for yourself. Follow your heart. Be true to yourself. Be true to who you are, and choose that. Choose that, and choose that for everyone. So this is precisely the situation. Being psychic is so weird. Um, I think I'm psychic. No one's confirmed it, but okay. This is precisely the situation for which the atonement was offered. The need for the remedy inspired its establishment. As long as you recognize only the need for the remedy. I'm so sorry. This is serious, so I'm going to be serious. Okay. As long as you recognize only the need for the remedy, you will remain fearful. However, as soon as you accept the remedy, you have abolished the fear. This is how true healing occurs. Everyone experiences fear. Yet it would take very little right thinking to realize why fear occurs. Few appreciate the real power of the mind, and no one remains fully aware of it all the time. However, if you hope to spare yourself from fear, there are some things you must realize, and realize fully. The mind is very powerful and never loses its creative force. It never sleeps. I'm sorry, the mind is very powerful and never loses its creative force. It never sleeps. Every instant it is creating. It is hard to recognize that thought and belief combine into a power surge that can literally move mountains. It appears at first glance that to believe such power about yourself is arrogant. But that is not the real reason you do not believe it. You prefer to believe that your thoughts cannot exert real influence because you are actually afraid of them. This may allay awareness of the guilt, but at the cost of perceiving the mind as impotent. If you believe that what you think is ineffectual, you may cease to be afraid of it, but you are hardly likely to respect it. There are no idle thoughts. All thinking produces form at some level. Now, as we move closer to truth, so here's the thing. I don't want to say I've seen it both ways, but I see it both ways. That some will say that all thinking produces form at some level. So if you're thinking something scary or fearful or bad, that something scary, fearful, or bad will happen. Now, some people believe that that means that that exact thing you're thinking will happen exactly how you thought it would. Some people will think that exact thing will happen, but maybe not quite how you thought it would. Some people will think that um, that will happen, but on a different level. So you or whatever you're thinking may not seem to experience it, but somebody else may seem to or may really. Okay? Now, if you're shifted into love, or if we're shifting into love, we'll still sometimes have fearful thoughts, yes? So then you can still think these ways, right? But then it's like, oh, you're just being pulled right back here. So what I've learned to do is to choose to see it this way, where even when I think a fearful thought or something scary or bad, or that something terrible might happen to people I love, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, okay, on any level, or even in a way I didn't understand or didn't expect, or even exactly how I thought, okay? Especially because I don't know always where this thought's coming from, right? We have this shared mind, and we're trying to transition it from here to here, okay? So there's a lot going on, right? So it's not your fault when you're fearful. You're not to blame, okay? Now, when we've shifted into love, and you could all be doing this right now in this very moment, you can choose to see that even when I think fearful thoughts, the form that's being produced on some level is the exact form that's needed to make sure that that fearful thought doesn't exist, never happens, never happened, never will happen, cannot threaten you, okay? And that form is being produced on some level to make sure that that is true, right? Because that is true. And that's the power and presence of God in your life right now for all time and all eternity. He is on your side. He loves you so much. He wants everything for you. Everything. Everything for you. It's all for you. So let's choose today to shift into love, to put